Hello friends, and welcome to the centennial episode of Virtual Happy Hour. I can't believe we've done it. We've arrived. It has been a pretty much daily routine since March 16th, and I am so grateful to all of you for tuning in on a regular basis, and welcome to all of you who've joined me along this wild and inebriated ride. I thought it would make sense to prepare for you my favorite cocktail. Actually, the first occurrence of the word cocktail appeared in a newspaper periodical back in 1806, and it was described as a potent combination of spirits, bitters, sugar, and water. It wasn't, though, until 1880 that the first description of an old-fashioned cocktail, which is what we'll be making today, appeared in the Chicago Daily Tribune. And it is very much that, a combination of spirits, sugar, bitters, and water. I mean, it appeared first in 1880, as I said, in the Chicago Daily Tribune, but in Louisville, Kentucky, a gentleman's club by the name of the Pendennis Club, which is also happens to have a cocktail named after it, claimed that they invented it and that a bartender there invented it in honor of Colonel James E. Pepper, who was a prominent bourbon distiller, who then took it northward and introduced it to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York, which I've mentioned several times. So the Waldorf certainly gets a lot of credit in the world of cocktails, particularly when it comes to the history of many of our favorites. So this is my favorite cocktail, but I so rarely order it when I go out because this very simple combination of ingredients is so easy to get wrong. It's of the utmost importance that you measure twice, pour once, when it comes to this particular cocktail, because the artfulness of this drink is all in the details, much like this little agent provocateur garment I'm wearing. The artfulness is certainly in the details. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do 2 ounces of bourbon into our mixing glass. As I said, you already know what the ingredients are. We're going to use Angostura. Some people prefer to use a sugar cube and put a couple dashes of Angostura on the sugar cube and muddle it. I prefer syrup. There are 2 very strongly held camps on that front, but today I'm going to be doing simple syrup. And this is, of course, a mixing glass cocktail because we don't want to introduce air or cloudiness. We want to preserve a beautiful silky mouthfeel and make sure that we're just getting a little bit of that dilution in there. 2 to 3 dashes of Angostura, 1 teaspoon of simple syrup, or 1 sugar cube. As you know, 1 sugar cube is equal to 1 teaspoon. So I wanted to touch on something that I think is really important. So if you've been following along, you know that I often say it's about participation, not perfection. And I think that should be true in all aspects of your life. Don't let, the perfect be the enemy of the good. And I think it's really important because it's kind of about just showing up for yourself, making a cocktail and taking the time. It's not about getting blackout drunk. It's about actually crafting something with care and using that, as something to kind of celebrate the end of a long day or whatever it is you're celebrating. In this case, my 100th episode of Virtual Happy Hour. But I think it's really important to do that and to show up for yourself in whatever that means for you. Straining into our rocks glass. So I haven't shared this before on Virtual Happy Hour, but I think it's worth noting. So about 3 years ago, I quit my job. It was a very safe, stable job, 1 large ice cube, making a mess. And then of course we need our orange peel garnish. I quit my job because it wasn't making me happy anymore. And it had a pension and lots of benefits and job security, but it wasn't making me happy. And so I decided to quit that job. At the time, I was in a long-term relationship with someone whom I'd been living with for about 3 years. And I said, will I have your support and your encouragement if I quit this job, realizing that I wouldn't be able to contribute to the mortgage? And he said yes, that I had his full support. And then I took that time after quitting my job, to start my blog. So I started my blog in September of 2017. I had wanted to do it forever. I'd taken a lot of time in preparing by taking various photography courses and improving my skills in the kitchen. And I followed a step-by-step guide from another food blogger on how to create a food blog. And I followed all of those steps. I will tell you that having a food blog isn't free. Buying a website domain isn't free. And, but nevertheless, I went ahead and did that. Cheers. But it quickly became apparent that my partner wasn't really keen with me not bringing in a paycheck and, you know, spending what money I had on creating a new blog. And it brought up a whole host of other issues in a relationship, as, you know, often happens. I'm sure those of you who've ever been in a relationship or are now can relate. And we ended up breaking up. So I, within the span of a few weeks, quit my job that was safe and secure and comfortable, and I left a relationship with someone who I thought I was going to marry, and that turned out to be part of the issue, is that he decided after nearly 4 years together that he didn't want to marry me. Not that he didn't want to get married, but that he didn't want to marry me, which is kind of an alarming discovery to make that far into a relationship. Yeah, but so then I was like, well, this isn't going to work for me. So I left that, and at the age of 29, moved back into my parents' basement, penniless, and feeling very uncomfortable and unhappy. And then by working my network, I was able to get a new job. I was able to move out of that kind of safe and secure and comfortable environment, working in a publicly funded institution, to working in a sales job where most of my income would come from performing and selling products. So I took that risk, I started the blog, I left my partner. There was a lot of change, and it was very destabilizing to go from what felt like what I was expected to do, you know, following the right path and doing it the right way. But it wasn't ultimately making me happy. So when I stepped back and reflected on it, I was like, comfort is not the same thing as happiness. And so my point in all this is saying that once I stopped chasing this kind of vision or ideal of perfection about where I should be in my mid to late 20s and what sort of accomplishments I should have under my belt or what milestones I should have achieved, it became a lot easier to focus on my own happiness. So while it can be lonely and it can be uncomfortable to pursue your own happiness, I think at the end of the day, you know that you're fulfilling the things that are most important to you. And so for me, that just meant putting my health first, or putting my female friendships first, investing more time in my blog, because meaningfully, it is a critical creative outlet for me that allows me to share my passion for food and drink, and, you know, practice my photography and my writing, which are really important creative outlets for me. And now, happy hour. And I couldn't be happier that all of you have joined me on this journey for 100 episodes, whether you joined at day 1 or whether you just started yesterday. I am so grateful to have you, and thank you for keeping me company in this wildly isolating and difficult time. So before I dissolve completely into a puddle of tears, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.